let's jump straight in.
We're on.
Corolla cast number 3.
We're back in the Corolla. I've never spent this much time in a park car with someone in my life, and usually some other stuff's happening. So we'll keep it pod strict related. But welcome back. I think to the HPU, Josh, the Half Palmer universe.
Yes.
Move over Marvel. We're back. And it's good to be back.
I think our audience is probably similar to the MCU's last couple of movies.
Yeah.
We started losing popularity before we started, though. That's the difference.
Yeah. Mate, we might have already talked about this in a previous app, but is there anything in the creative space, cinematic area that has just overcooked itself? Like I saw a random post, one of those random posts on Facebook the other day that just pop up, and it said like Owen Wilson now joins the MCU, and you're like, are we still doing that? Like, like what are we doing? I'm just fine. And who has time to keep up? Like, who's keeping up with all this stuff?
Well, that's part of the problem. No one had time. You've got to be careful going into this territory because there's a lot of really angry middle-aged to older white dudes on the internet that are blaming the lack of success on the fact that they've got too many women.
Right.
If that was the case, too many attractive women, then Instagram would have just flopped from day one.
Yeah.
I don't think that's an issue in anyone's mind.
No.
It might be the quality of storytelling in general.
Yeah, I know some people that are still sort of tapped in with it, and you're like, and they're like, oh, have you seen this movie? Oh, I said, no. Should I watch it? They're like, yeah, it's great, but you got to watch this TV show, this movie in this order, and then you got to go back to this TV show on Disney Plus and watch that, and then that takes 17 hours, and then you're ready to watch Doctor Strange 4.5, and you're like,
yeah,
okay, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, particularly because you don't just have to watch that whole TV show that's leading straight into the movie you're watching. There's one Easter egg in one scene of a show they made 2 years ago that may or may not relate.
Yeah.
And you need to watch that to make up your own mind about whether it relates.
Yeah.
So you've got to scroll through 10 episodes to find that one scene because no one's going to be actually helpful and tell you when it happens.
Yeah. No, I'm not about it. And but yeah, MCU, you'll just keep printing money and good on you. Welcome back. We're in our own universe.
Here we are.
So of Palm and yeah.
Oh, Palm. Have you had any good palmies lately?
I have not. I've been a bit short on the Palm. So I feel
Please don't say that in a car.
So no, I haven't had a Palm lately. Yeah, every time we do the pod, I'm like, I need to have a Palm. So if at least this podcast, if it at least serves a purpose for us as hosts and the listeners out there, if it triggers you to go and get a Palm, I think our job is done.
Exactly. Can I tell you about some Palm regret?
Okay, love it.
I had a schnitzel the other day. I won't say where. A local Albury-Wodonga establishment. Yeah. And I'd heard that their palmy is excellent, but I didn't feel like... And to say a palmy's heavy is probably not the right word, but heavier than just a plain schnitz.
Yeah.
There's more going on and more cheese. So, to me, if you're going to say a palmy's great, the base of it is the quality of the schnitzel.
Yeah.
I can see why people love the palmy and they talk it up because the schnitzel itself was the most flavourless thing I've ever tasted.
Yeah.
And I did get mushroom sauce with it, which I generally like on everything, but it really just highlighted how bland the schnitz was. And the whole time I was eating it, every mouthful, just saying a little prayer to the palmy gods.
Yeah.
Next time, let me choose the palm.
Yeah. Should have gone the Palm.
Should have gone the palm. So I've got some regret around it, but I am going back to try it out now. It's actually made me more keen just to see how such a bland schnitzel can equal.
Because you would have thought, like you said, the base of the Palm, it's doing a lot of the work, is the schnitz. So you would have thought good breadcrumbed schnitz, moist schnitz would lead to a good Palm. But I mean, yeah, because we love cheese, we love the sauce, but it must do some serious good work to get the Palm up to a standard where people are raving about it when the schnitz is not great.
Yeah.
So,
and I keep getting myself in trouble on this show talking about platform foods.
Yeah.
How something's a platform for something else, so I'm not going to go into it.
Yeah.
but this was a pretty shaky platform.
Yeah.
That's what I'll say.
The foundations were under stress immediately.
So something that's not shaky is your upcoming show, mate.
Yeah.
So that starts next week. I'm gonna put this one out before the festival.
It does start next week. And I am performing on Monday. So I start Monday, and typically...
Which Monday?
Monday
for
the
people
8th,
listening.
Monday the 8th of April. So Monday the 8th of April through to the 21st of April. So 2 full weeks, 14 shows. That's a lot of fucking shows, Josh.
Is this the most Melbourne Comedy Festival shows you've done?
Well,
14?
I've done the same 2 weeks last year, but we didn't do Mondays. So I'm effectively doing 2 extra shows. So yeah, 14 shows fucking back to back. And yeah. So
which venue are you in?
I'm in the venue Doubletree Hilton Hotel. It's just a big hotel right on Flinders Street, across from the station. So if you got any mates, you can get public transport. It's a piece of piss to get there. But yeah, 14 shows. It's going well. I think, yeah, look, it's all there, all the material's there. It's all sort of written. Now it's about putting it in order and sussing it out that way. But yes, I have made a problem. I checked the ticket sheet the other day just to have a little look-see, just get my bearings. And I've then decided after that, this was a week ago, so I won't look at it just for my own soul. I won't look at it until maybe during the run.
Yeah.
But I know for a fact that there are 2 tickets sold for the first show on the Monday, so I have a show. That's a show.
That one's happening. Yeah.
Yeah. And then some tickets, some good tickets are sold on the weekends. So we're feeling good and the show's good. But yeah, come down if you're out there listening and you got mates in Melbourne, because I said I did a spot the other night and I said at the end, I was like, please come to the festival show. I'd love to see you. I got some flyers. You're meant to play it cool up here and be all like, tickets are selling fast. There's not many left. Get them before they're gone. Not the case. There's plenty of tickets. So tell your mates, get them on the door. Buddy, bring your cat. I don't know.
There's a feline discount.
Yeah, if you bring a cat, let the cat. You can have a companion cat, and I'll give you $5 off. I don't know.
Yeah.
But no, it's feeling good, and I think I was saying this to get a bit, I guess, philosophical in the HPU for the moment.
We're in a Corolla, mate. That's what happens.
Yeah, I think I know I'm in a better. It puts me in a better headspace when I'm just focusing on the comedy and the jokes and the writing of the shows, rather than as soon as I get caught up in the business and the industry and I haven't sold tickets, I need to. What are my marketing strategies? Shit, I'm not getting enough clips out. I'm not putting content out. People aren't going to know to come, which is all relevant. But as soon as I get caught in the weeds of that too much, that's when I get a bit funny in the head. So I just sort of go, do what you can. So you got a few bits of content here and there, put them out, see whatever that happens, put some flyers out, tell some people, but at the end of the day, just focus on the show and write a good show and perform it well, and hopefully, whether it's this year, next year, and 3 years, there might be an audience to perform to. But no, feeling good. And
can we talk about the clips thing? I don't feel like I'm at a point where I'm ready to be putting up too much stuff yet.
Yeah.
Because I don't have jokes. And I know there's a comedian, Brant Tobler, who's done a lot of shows. He opens for Tom Segura and people in Denver.
Yeah.
And was doing pretty well in Los Angeles for a long time. He said that he only really ever puts a joke up when he's about done with it himself emotionally.
Yeah.
He's ready just to give it to the world, because then if people want it, they can request it at a show, but otherwise he's probably not going to do it anymore.
Yeah.
But it seems like there is a pressure to put absolutely everything you're doing up and for people to know everything about you before they come.
Yeah.
It's like they want a certain percentage of your act to be scoped out. Now,
Yeah.
do you have a feeling on that? I don't, because I'm not at the point where I need to care about it yet, I don't think, but do you have a feeling on clips in general?
I think for you and I mean, I guess I was where you were probably 5-6 years ago. I think the beauty of, so for other people, out there in your sort of realm in that stage of comedy, is still film a set or still create a clip, a 30 or 1 minute joke, because then you send that to room runners.
Yeah.
Because that's what they'll ask now. They'll go, oh, do you have a clip? That's the beauty of like this day and age with filming and stuff. So I'd say still film, get your best joke at this stage. So then you can go down. So you would go down to Melbourne and go, here's my clip, and you could just send that to whoever. But in terms of the social media thing, yeah, I resisted for a while. The whole thing of like, because I don't have any crowd work stuff either.
No.
Like, so for me, if I'm putting stuff up, it is jokes, similar to like what you said about Brent Tobler. It's like they are just jokes. So I have to be willing. There is a part of me. It's like, well, I have to put this up, and I'm willing to burn it.
Yeah. And I don't think that's the same as what maybe it was in the past, where the goal was to debut your best stuff on TV to the biggest audience.
Yeah.
I think that there's probably less worry in burning something now.
Yeah, 100%. I mean,
but I get what you're saying. The crowd work thing is, once you're behind the scenes in comedy, it's so much more obvious why everyone puts that stuff up, because it seems like magic in the moment. Like, how could they possibly have done that?
And how could they've done so well to have that filmed?
Yeah, when really it might have been one of 20 crowd work interactions that week that didn't work, and that one was just absolute magic.
Yeah.
So there's a bit of fake, not fakery because it happened, it's real. But you're not getting the full picture. But I think it's also about not burning jokes. Like, you just put up stuff that only happened once. It can't really ever happen again.
And it's not a joke. It's just a thing that happened.
A great moment.
Yeah. And something I liked recently, I saw it. Tom Ballard's got a new special out. He put it on YouTube recently, but he put out a clip of all like the bloopers.
Yeah.
So all the like mishaps and so in the moment of the special, the like director or producer would come out and fix a mic or whatever. But he put that out as a clip, and I like that. I was like, that's fun, because that talking about like being a bit more genuine, authentic, and not sort of fakery. It's like, oh well, this isn't in the show. This isn't burning material, but it's still funny.
Yeah,
because Tom is funny, so he was funny in those moments.
He's good at every aspect of it.
Yeah. So no, I have to get on board with it and the whole clip and social media thing, because I am restricted in other ways in comedy and access and whatever. So like these are platforms that I can make work. So whether that's putting jokes out as clips or finding other ways to do content and do all that. But yeah, I've got some ideas for content. But then because then I see other guys like David Rose, who we both know, and not lovely dude, but he's sort of been doing that sort of stuff, crowd work clips and comedy and jokes for I'd say good 2 years, and now he's starting to like sell out.
Yeah,
smaller venues, I'd say 60-seater, but like I saw him post the other day, yesterday. He's doing a month at the festival, and he sold out next Saturday.
Yeah.
So he knows that started to work for him, and he's made it happen. So
and that was just commitment.
Yeah.
Probably longer than 2 years, I reckon. Maybe 3 or 4, because
he just went this, and he obviously made a decision. This is it now.
Yeah, the path.
Yeah. So I have to get on board and find my own version of that path, but that's sort of where it's at. But yes, there is part of me that is a bit, see some of the guys, some people out there that's a bit cringe, and you're like, oh. And again, I'm not the keeper of the quality of comedy in the world, but I've seen a couple of things recently that's made me laugh. Is one, people who have been doing it, say, less than you, putting up clips, like you're saying, you don't feel ready to put up clips. It's like, and then you see these just mediocre like jokes or clips that get put up. And my other favourite thing at the moment made me laugh is I've seen people put up like Instagram just like images of like, oh, the gig's coming up, and they like they're a touring US New York comedian.
Yeah.
And then you look at the day, you look at what they've got up, and it's just like 15 open mics. And I don't want to sound like snappy or like, but I'm like, oh, dude, they're open mics.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a tour.
No.
And 8 of them are the gigs you run.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know if that counts as like a content piece where you got to show, anyway. But that's just me being a bit
and for people out there
snippy.
That aren't as au fait as to what a comedy open mic is, because generally your life would be better having not gone to one. but please come to mine.
Yeah.
It's about, they're not like a music open mic where young, upcoming, incredible talent are playing the best stuff they've got to try and generate interest in their songs or their vocal or whatever it is, or just meet other musos at their level. It really is watching people go to the gym that are unfit
Yes. Yeah.
and sitting there for an hour watching them try to work out how to do something.
Yep. And then again,
Which is great. It's about the comedians, not about the audience all the time, I guess. It's more even. I would say a music open mic is probably mostly about talent trying to impress an audience, whereas a comedy open mic is about people trying not to die.
Yeah. Yep. And you just, I don't know. But yes, come to Josh's open mic. They're great. I think open mics.
If we get enough people at my open mic, it shifts because they're real people. Because there's more audience than there is comedians, unlike maybe a bigger metropolitan area where there's mostly just comics and that's it.
Yeah.
Our shows can flip from being an open mic field to being like I'll call it an amateur showcase.
Yeah, like we've got 30 people in this room or 50 people in this room. Like it's a show.
Can flip.
Yeah. That's interesting, and I think it shows that and you've been doing that open mic at the Albion for a while. Like, and people, I remember the first few. You're like, we had 60, and I'm like, what?
Yeah, we've had 60 or 70 a couple of times.
And I've just gone and being now in Melbourne, going to these like dodgy bars and dodgy open mics, and you're like, how? Who?
I think it's just because people that are into comedy in our area of the world, on the river.
Yeah.
I think people are into comedy, and if they are, any show is better than not having a show, because it might be the only comedy thing for a month.
Yeah, they just come and they just see that. Yeah.
Cross their fingers that it's going to be
all right,
going to be strong.
But they clearly still show up.
They do, yeah.
Even if it is bad or there's a bad one. And yeah, no, it's comedy's great, and the festival is the pinnacle for a lot of people.
Yep.
So please, if you're in Melbourne, and it goes for 3.5 weeks, so you got plenty of time. Come for a weekend, come down. Like you could see, the beauty of it is you could see my show at 5:30, and then see 5 other shows after that. You could finish your night at fucking midnight.
Yeah, the show that I'm on with Dane Simpson, he put together a showcase called Beat Around the Bush.
Yep.
I think we're on at 6:00 Tuesday through Saturday, and then 5:00 on Sunday.
Yep.
So you can quite easily see us and then see multiple other shows.
Yeah, and the beauty of the Beat Around the Bush, not clashing with Baby on Board. So you can see Beat Around the Bush next week, and then you can come after that and see me. So I'll tell you what I'm not happy about, Josh. I'll let you in on this.
Yeah,
and I think this is why I am experiencing a slight dip in ticket sales. For the second year in a row, I am direct clash, the same date range, the same 2 weeks, more or less the same time, or it is not the same time identically, but it's a clash by half an hour. We overlap. I am clashing with Will Anderson. So I'm going to take a moment on the pod. That is why I am low on ticket sales. Will, I love you. You're part of the reason I do stand-up. You're why I started. I've always loved you, but you're taking my audience.
Fuck you, Will.
Yeah. Go on, Will.
The most gentle F you, Will, possible, but still an F you, Will.
If you've heard this, Will, you're taking my audience. We need to, mate, come down. We'll catch up during the festival. Never met you, never gig with you in my life. Would love to. But let's have a chat during the festival, Will. How we can work together in going forward. That you're not taking my audience.
I think it makes complete sense to me. I think you're right.
Yeah. So I'm not happy about it, but what are you going to do?
So I did want to talk about something, a top 5 today that you don't know about.
Great,
but it's going to be an easier random top 5.
Yeah.
But just on the clips thing, and this is just my only feeling on it, the reason why I asked that question is I got asked at the Raw state final in Canberra the other night.
Yeah.
Who I am by other comics and what I do. And it didn't sound accusatory, but it also sounded like they would have the other people on the lineup would have been more comfortable if they had have known more about me. Because I was like, it almost was like, oh, well, because I'm not from Canberra, they haven't seen me.
Yeah.
And I think other than sumo, I don't think anyone's ever seen sumo Aya. That is, I don't think anyone's ever seen me do a real gig.
Yeah.
Jeremy might have seen me do an open mic once in Wagga.
Yeah.
Other than the people that were on my heat,
Yeah,
which is like only 2 of them were there.
Yeah, there.
And it kind of felt a little bit like you should have clips up so we know how good you are.
Yeah.
And then afterwards I realised, oh no, it wasn't that. You're just a bit in your own head.
Yeah.
And everyone was so fucking nervous, and I wasn't as nervous because I got a wild card. I didn't even really feel like, I'm just happy to be here. I didn't win by heat. I just got offered the golden ticket here.
Yeah.
But I think looking back, my nervousness was manifesting as, these guys have me on the outer.
Yeah.
And I took it as that. But really, I think it was just a couple of extra little clips, even if they're only a part of a joke, not the whole joke.
Yeah.
Because I've only got about 20 minutes in total of stuff that's worked most of the time. I can't be putting up 5 minutes of that in little bits.
Yeah.
But I think even that would have helped to people to have a feel as to what I do and who I am.
Yeah, but
it also helped that they were all surprised that I was good.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. So I've experienced that, like, again, about 5 years ago when I was sort of at the same point where you are now, doing the Raws and doing. I remember I went down to Melbourne, so 2019, so 5 years ago, pre-COVID. I just went and did just to watch shows. Wasn't doing a show. Hadn't really thought about doing a show. Didn't really have as many network connections as I do now. So I wasn't on anything, and I just found a couple of dodgy spots around, outside the bubble of the festival that was still running. And I remember I did this spot at this bar in South Yarra or something, and did pretty well. And you had that moment of there were these cliquey Melbourne open micers, and I got up and did pretty well, and I could see them all be like, "Who's this guy? What? Who's he? Where's he come from?" And then because I had that thing too after the set, it was like, "Oh, you're funny. Who are you? Where you from? Why are you here?"
Yeah.
And you're messing up our bit of a cliquey. We're all not that good, but we all think we all laugh at each other, so we're all funny. And I'm not saying this was the case at Canberra. I'm sure they were all lovely and they were all funny.
Yeah, well, they were the 12 finalists.
Yeah. But
most of them were pretty funny. Yeah.
I do love that feeling when, as an outsider, you come in and they're and everyone who's already friendly and seen each other a bunch, they go, "Oh, who's this guy?" So yeah, and when you're funny and you do well, it's even better. So.
Yeah. I took it the wrong way, and it was probably an extra little bit of nerves that they didn't need.
Yeah.
And it was an amazing experience, though. 260 people or something in this beautiful theatre, and the next night Dave Thornton was in the same theatre. So it was that kind of venue. Yeah, it was great times.
I think that's the beauty of Raw, because Raw's an open mic, national open mic competition put on by the festival and Triple J and all those that sort of vibe, very sort of hip and. I've done it back in the few years ago, and it is at the time. It's the biggest gig a lot of people do because people come out. It's a $10 ticket usually, and people come out, and hundreds of people. I remember the first time I did it in Wollongong, in the town hall. It was like a 400 seater, and it was full.
Wow!
And you're
huge.
like, what are you all doing? But people come out, and then I was in Melbourne. So I've done Melbourne twice. And same thing. 200 people in this little sort of theatre at this bar, and it's great. You're like, oh, and if that's the only gigs you ever do, it's a pretty amazing. It's a pretty amazing gig. So.
I changed from not realising I was even able to go in it because I thought it was only for young people, like under 28s sort of thing, to not really knowing what it was, to getting I felt like I was gifted a bit of a wild card because I thought that Felix definitely was better than me at the heat, but he got a wild card as well. So it wasn't like he missed out. So I felt pretty good about that. Yeah. And then I had a much better set in my mind. I had one of the best sets I've had at the final. So I felt this went about as well for me as it possibly could. Awesome. Yeah. I feel like I deserve to be here. And people don't actually hate me; they just don't know me.
Yeah, they just don't know you. And
now they do.
That's then projected as nervousness and fear. But and I think it's good when you do well, and then you leave going, well, whatever happens.
Yeah,
I held my own, did well, and
Canberra's food is pretty good. I've got to put it out there. We don't have to cover too much of it. Just I was up there with Rusty Mitchell because he's from there,
Yeah.
So he lined up the accommodation, took me around. I felt like an idiot to start with because in my mind, Canberra's just a little bit like double the size of Albury
Yeah.
when it's actually like 5 times bigger than Albury.
Yes.
Or Albury Wodonga, like there's 500,000 people there. It felt like, oh, this is an actual city.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd computed that part in my brain
Nah.
because I've only ever been to ANU to do gigs.
Right.
And that was drive straight in, hang around at the uni and then leave again. Yeah, so that part was interesting. But I had some incredible dumplings in the CBD there. And the breakfast before we left it was down on the Kingston Pier or something, I think it's called, or Kingston Foreshore.
Okay.
Don't hold me to that. It's something foreshore.
Yeah.
All the breakfast places along there are apparently great. So you can't go wrong there.
All right, I'll have to next time I'm in Canberra because I think the same thing.
Because they talk up the food, and Thornton was giving him shit about that. Like, yeah, you're always talking about how good your food is and all this stuff. He's from Melbourne, so of course he probably thinks their food's just pretty average.
Yeah.
But I had to say that it over delivered the food.
Oh, that's not. I think sometimes when you go in with a low expectation, and to me, that's Canberra in general.
Yeah, it was better in every way.
Yeah.
And also, it had been hot as F in Albury for a month,
Yeah.
and Canberra was not. And
Right.
that was my favourite bit, other than doing well at the heat. Oh, sorry, at the final of Raw.
The climate was in your favour.
Oh, yeah, it was the most comfortable and happiest I'd been in a month. It was great. So, talking about things that have changed in the last month, I want to know, and this is going to be all you today because I have really no feeling on this. So I'm just going to guide us. What are the 5 things you're most excited about this AFL season?
Okay. Well,
I'm sure you've got them.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what I'm not excited
Okay,
about.
this is even better.
I'll start. My team, Richmond, they are not good. They are on the. They've just sort of finished a premiership era, won 3 flags in 4 years. One of some of the best times of my life, if I'm honest. So they, in the last couple of years, it was like hanging in there. They still got one more in them, and they're going to still contend. And 3 weeks into this season, Josh, that is quite clear that is not going to happen.
Okay.
It's So yeah, it's getting back to reality with that. Go, oh, this is now the team. We are in the classic, the R word, and in football is rebuild. So I think Richmond are doing that. But what am I most excited about?
Can I just ask a good question about that before we go on? Why is it that seems to be the normal way teams elevate? Then
that's
like they hit the top of their
system works.
success, whether it's they win premierships or they're contenders, and then they drop off.
Yeah.
Like to me, the first time I remember that happening is probably still the best team I've ever seen, and that's those early 2000 Brisbane Lions teams.
Yeah.
Like they hit the highest of highs for a couple of years.
Yeah, they won
and then
3
have
flags in a row. Yeah.
have been only more recently competitive again.
Yeah, so 20 years took them to build back up.
So it's not unusual for a team to have that big a drop off.
No.
But how does a team like Geelong not have that drop off?
I don't know.
Is that luck on injuries? Is it people that haven't wanted to move?
I think it's teams like Geelong and even some of the other sort of interstate teams, or
Sydney are generally pretty competitive.
Sydney's another great example. They have this whole Sydney, for example. Not again, I'm getting too far. Don't want to get too far in the weeds of it. They have an academy, so they have a dedicated like Sydney Swans academy. So they find kids at 16, 17 that they go, oh, we'll sign you up at our academy.
Right, like a soccer team.
Yeah,
almost.
and then they don't actually go through the draft. Well, they go through the draft, but they're an academy pick of Sydney. So Sydney have like first crack at them. Right. So that's why like Sydney they won the premiership in 2005, 2012. They were in the grand final in 2016. I'm picking them to win it again this year.
Okay.
So they haven't won it for 12 years. They haven't won a premiership, but they also haven't dropped. They've probably missed, in my lifetime of following footy, so I'd say like 20 years, they haven't been bad. Yeah. Whereas Richmond have been very, very bad and very, very good. Yeah. But I think that's just how for most other clubs. Yeah, you get your high draft picks when you're bad. Like West Coast are going through it at the moment, so they're going to get a whole. North Melbourne have been through it, so you like to think the system will work itself out. That in a few years, if all those boys hang around North Melbourne, they'll be good. I don't know what am I most excited about. As a diehard Richmond fan, I'm excited. I hope it's more hope and excitement that Collingwood is shit again.
Okay.
Because they've won last night, but they lost 3 games in a row. So when Richmond are bad, it's not about when Richmond are in this situation. It's not necessarily about who's going to be. I'm excited for other teams to do poorly as well. It's a bit of a negative way to look at it.
I feel that way about Hawthorn.
Yeah,
growing up, as long as they were not doing well, I didn't care if St Kilda were the worst team that's ever been in the AFL.
Yeah. What else could I be excited about? I don't know. It's a weird because I'm very biased. The older I get, I'm very biased.
We don't have to have 5.
No.
Just got it.
I think one is Collingwood being hopefully they're bad again. The older I get, the more biased I become.
Okay.
So when I was a bit younger, like mid-teens, and I sort of more had to followed footy like quite, intently and knew everything about every team. I could go, I like that team, I like that player, but as I get older and my time becomes a bit more taken up by other and more important things, I follow Richmond, I watch Richmond's games, and I know about Richmond, and I want them to do well, and if they're not, I don't lose interest, I still watch them, but yeah, I'm not really fussed on who's doing what, who's playing well. I'll tell you what I have done this year, Josh, which I somewhat regret, and I was convinced by a mate of mine. I got back into the fantasy world where you pick your team and then their performance on the field is they get points.
Yep.
So that 3 weeks into that, and I regret doing that immensely.
Is it because you care too much about it?
Yeah. And I wanted to do, because when I did it when I was in high school, so 10 years ago, when it was sort of the beginning of that whole concept, I was very good at it because I was so tapped in with the game, like the whole league.
So for people that don't know what fantasy is, I would assume, having heard so much about it, I've never played it, you want to be ahead of the curve on players that might have breakouts without everyone wanting to draft them because they're lower value and you can get them for less.
Yeah, there is a version of the type of the game that you can play where you can have everyone can pick the same players. So yeah, the idea is that you get ahead of the curve on. Okay, these are the new young gun rookies. They're cheap, but they'll play every game because they're North Melbourne at the moment. They've got 2 or 3 guys that are guns, so they were rookies. So everyone gets on them, and then there's always going to be a guy that has that's like a mid-level price that then has a breakout year or has a really good year. So then, and throughout the year, if guys are playing well, their price goes up.
Yeah. Okay.
So you want to get on someone before because you want to get on someone, say, when they're $400,000 in the salary.
Yeah.
Then when 6 weeks into the year, they've had 5 ripper games, so now they're worth $900,000, but you've missed your chance.
Yeah.
To So yes, when I was younger, I was all over it, and I was like, I think the best I finished in the top 1,000 one year, which is pretty good effort. And so yeah, this year I got back into it on the being convinced.
Yeah.
And yeah, my team sucks, and because I said to my mate Cody, who got me into it, I said, Cody, throughout the year you're going to have to remind me that this is fun.
Yes.
This is just for fun.
And at some point that I'm still part of this.
Yeah, this is for fun, and we're just doing it for fun. It doesn't mean anything. There's no money on the line. It doesn't matter.
Anytime you ever have to convince yourself of that, you've already lost the war.
Yeah. The battle has been lost. Yeah. Casualties have been.
The thing I'm most excited about, Ollie, and this is in no way to denigrate the AFL as an amazing product.
Yeah.
And I love how much people love it. It's funny because AFL people call people nerds and geeks about maybe they love movies or video games.
Yeah.
You love the AFL in the same way that person loves Baldur's Gate 3. Like it's the same passion.
Yes,
but
100%.
I'm happy that I'm completely comfortable with the fact that I just don't care.
Yeah.
I've tried. I've even talked about it on stage, how I've literally tried multiple times to get back on the Saints.
Yeah.
And I haven't watched one moment of AFL, even though I dislike Collingwood immensely. My favourite player for the last decade has been Pendlebury.
Yep.
I won't comment on him being a good person or not, because 10 years from now it might turn out he's not. I've loved watching everything about him, how he's changed from being kind of like a more graceful edge sort of player to being a lot tougher and harder player. And just everything about his whole vibe I like
Yeah.
and the leadership. But I've stopped following or taking interest in just him. So
Yeah.
he was the one connection I had to the AFL beyond St Kilda itself.
Yes.
I've unfollowed anyone or muted people that regularly talk about the AFL.
Yep.
And it's good.
Yeah.
I'm loving it.
It's freeing.
It's amazing. I'm like, that's something people expect me to care about.
Yeah.
Just like Radiohead when I was growing up. Like, no, I'm happy just not being a Radiohead guy.
Yeah, and you're just not a sport guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's so much going on in tennis now.
Yeah. Oh, you are. You love your tennis. Yeah.
The top 50 in the men's game are all amazing at the moment and have been for about 18 months. So that and a little bit of NBA following. Like I've even had to condense that because tennis has taken up so much of my time.
Yeah.
Like I follow the Celtics and then a couple of other players that might be contenders. And I've never been happier. And it's not that I'm not talking shit about the AFL. Just you can only try to get back into something so many times where you're like, no, actually I don't need it.
No. You've got so much else going on that's to sit down and watch even half a game or just to keep an eye on news. It's just it doesn't need to.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I love that. Yeah. I
should
also
have known during last year's grand final when I ended up watching some gardening show on the ABC after halftime for a quarter.
Yeah.
That maybe I was over it.
Maybe you're over. I love your analogy there. Yes. The sports fans in general are probably the most nerdy people.
Yes.
I would say they're nearly more nerdy than what they consider nerds.
Yes.
Yeah.
They love numbers, player profiles, careers, history.
Yeah.
All the things that make up. And not only are they following the actual game, people that are really into fantasy are creating an entire world around that they care about even more than the actual thing.
There's podcasts about this whole fantasy thing. That's what blew my mind. I got it because to do some research on these players. I listen to some of these guys, and I'm like, these are the most nerdy dudes.
Yes.
These are the guys that love it, and I love it too. I'm one of these people. But like to call other people nerds is we're all nerds.
Yes.
Like we're talking about 22-year-old kids and their talent, and if they're going to be like beneficial for our team.
Yes.
Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, I know. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So, how do you feel? One thing I have, and it's been unavoidable, is probably just where the AFL is. It feels like it's even more popular than it's ever been.
Yeah.
Like that still reaches me, even though I've disconnected from the sport almost in as much as I can, but it still filters to me in some way. Is that I see people talking about it I don't expect when I'm unfollowing your footy head. Sometimes it's someone that you don't even think would ever be an AFL fan that's taking pictures of themselves in a full outfit.
Yeah.
Am I wrong in assuming that they've done a masterful job of growing the sport even more?
I think NRL are also killing it at the moment with popularity.
Yeah.
They've just gone to Vegas and they did that. I think the NRL, and I'm not the first person to say this, but they're doing a better job at doing the experimental stuff and pulling it off.
Yeah.
So they committed to Vegas. They took 4 clubs to Vegas, played 2 games, doubleheader on a Saturday night in Vegas.
Okay.
Sold out the stadium.
Wow.
And did that, and I think I agree. I can see it. It's a post-COVID thing. People are back at the footy.
Yeah.
Like I went to the opening round, round 1 at the MCG, Richmond Carlton. Like 83,000 people there. I think there was 4 games at the MCG that week.
Yep.
They probably averaged 75,000. I will say this. This is probably not the point of view when you ask me my top 5 things. Melbourne fans, shit fans. Like
We're talking about Melbourne, the club?
Melbourne Demons. I get this is a team talking about how the system works. They were with Richmond in sort of the mid 2010s. They were horrendous.
Yeah.
And even
public and private misery, I think, would sub them up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then they won a premiership in 2021. They've been a contender the last 4 years, similar trajectory to Richmond. Their fans don't show up.
Right.
MCG, so there was 4 games at the MCG round 1. Richmond Carlton, 83,000. Hawthorn Essendon, who both teams for the last 10 years haven't been good. Well, I'd say 5 years even. So they've been at the bottom, while Richmond and Melbourne and Geelong have been at the top. So there was 75,000 at Hawthorn Essendon Saturday afternoon in the sun. Melbourne showed up on Sunday and played. I think another Victorian team. Like, what are we likely to be 60,000, maybe 55,000? You're like, your club has been on the up and up for the last 3 years. They won a premiership in 2021. They've made top 4. Like, where are you people? Like, what are you doing? Like, when Richmond got good, like, they had 100,000 members immediately.
Yeah.
They had an average, probably I'd say 65,000 when they were at their peak.
Okay.
And even when they're not, like I said, 83,000, they're not good this year. But people still showed up to round one.
Yeah.
And people as fans of not Richmond or Carlton for the last couple of years have said, why do they get round one? Thursday night round one, they get the big game. It's like, well, because the fans still show up.
Yeah.
So get that through your head, St Kilda fans.
Yeah. They don't want to put the very first camera of the season on a half-empty crowd.
Yeah. Anyway.
I love it. Let's just finish up. I'm going to give you 2 minutes on which fan base, and you can't say Richmond because you're obviously biased there. Which fan base do you like the most of another AFL team?
Which fan base?
Because I have feelings on this, but it's all from when I used to go to games in the 90s. So that's probably, that's two generations ago.
Okay.
Do you ever look at a fan base at a game and think they're having a great time? Like, I'd love to be part of that.
Interesting question. I reckon maybe the Bulldogs. They just seem like they didn't have a lot of success for ages. They got a 2016 flag. One of my personal trainer, we become mates. He's a Dogs fan.
Yep.
They seem like they're just not like, other clubs, like the other big Melbourne clubs, like the Collingwoods, the Richmonds, the Essendons. They're all. You don't hear about the Bulldogs fans being feral.
No.
Like, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Traditionally, Footscray, they might have got a bit hectic. But, yeah, I think the Dogs, I like the Dogs.
Well, it's funny you say that because I'm thinking mid-late 90s, and for me it was the Bulldogs.
Yeah.
And it was more so because I was a St Kilda fan, but quite often we weren't going to St Kilda games. We were going to North Melbourne, one of my brothers, my dad, or Carlton. So mum and two of my brothers, all Carlton people. So it was usually one of them versus the Bulldogs or Essendon or whoever was on when we were down there. I used to look at them and think, they know my misery.
Yeah, Bulldogs fans, because
they're honourable in defeat because there's a lot of fucking defeat going on here.
Yeah. Yes. No, I'd say...
I remember them getting absolutely pumped by Essendon one day. And I was looking around thinking, I know everything you're feeling right now.
Yeah.
Everything. And I made the really intelligent decision of barracking for West Coast because they were the same colour as Golden State, meeting Nathan Burke, thinking this is the coolest person I've ever met, and then changing to St Kilda.
Yeah. Great. Love that.
Yeah. Really good decision.
Yeah. How did your family go, Country Victoria family, when you pipe up as a kid and go, I'm going for West Coast?
I think because everyone disliked Hawthorn, and in the 1991 grand final, West Coast were for 3/4 of that game beating Hawthorn.
Yeah.
That's when my fandom really solidified.
Yes.
But I already loved not Latrell Sprewell, Tim Hardaway, Chris Mullen, some of the players that were playing for Golden State.
Yeah.
So I'm like, same colours. I hate this other team for some reason, which that was obviously pumped into me. I had no choice.
Yeah.
I don't even know where Hawthorn is, let alone why I just don't like them.
Yeah. Well, I was like that growing up with Carlton. I was just told you hate Carlton as a Richmond fan and Collingwood, and then you went, all right, sweet.
Yeah. I saw it as a real moral victory when I started liking Pendlebury.
Yeah.
I'm like, the team I've been told to hate in sport more than any other team that I don't particularly like has my favourite current athlete in this sport.
Talking to Pendlebury, when I did the fantasy stuff like 10 years ago, he was the man for fantasy.
Oh, he would have been.
Like, you picked him and he averaged 120 points and you just locked him in.
Just lock him in.
And he was a gun for like 5 years. Yeah, he still is. That's the frightening thing about
Well,
Scotty.
if we don't get 120% more audience for this episode,
Yeah.
we're changing it to the Lock in Pendlebury podcast.
Yeah. So, no, mate, I tell you, Will Anderson's going to hear it, and he's going to...
I'm going to clip that bit for Will.
Yeah.
Okay, once again, a very polite F you, Will.
Yeah.
Share some of the love, mate. Maybe mention on stage, you guys are here, but you shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Because there's another guy working just as hard who needs you to turn up.
Yeah. Maybe, I hope Will hears this and he can say, go and see this guy another night. So, good on you.
Will could transfer half the tickets to you on the day and still sell out that show.
Yeah.
I don't know what he's doing.
Yeah.
Righto. Well, that's enough Will talk, some Pendlebury talk, and thank you for joining us on the Half Palmy.
It's great to have you, and we'll see you next time. We may be in the Corolla, we may not be. You never know.
Just an update, I didn't run out of petrol even though we had the air conditioner on, which I didn't think about before I started.
All right. We're all good to go. Josh can now, he's happy we can easily and safely drive away.
Yes.
So it's all going to be okay, everyone.
Okay, we better go have a palmy or something.
Yeah. See ya.
See ya.